Hey guys, Dave Newton here. We are in Dublin City Centre. We've just come out of Comms Cameras where maybe you saw our previous Facebook Live. And we've come for a little wander around the city centre, and it seems like a really good opportunity to tell you about some of the Canon mirrorless cameras. So I've got two with me. I've got one that I've been shooting with for a while, which is the M5, and I've got the latest one here, which has just been launched. This is the M6. And street shooting is a really good environment for these cameras. They work really well in this kind of environment because they're small, they're discreet, you don't have an awful lot of weight to carry with you. You've got a nice range of EFM lenses, so lenses like this 15-45 would work very nicely, or if you wanted to be a bit more candid, a little bit further away, you could go for something like the 55-250. But then from a true street shooting point of view, maybe the 22mm f2 would work really well. It's a lovely, lightweight f2, really fast lens that just has a beautiful 35mm equivalent field of view. It works stunningly around in this kind of street environment. So what are these cameras? Well, I said they're mirrorless, you know it's the M5 and the M6. In reality, they're a very similar camera, just in a slightly different body. So the sensors in both of them, it's APS-C, they're 24.2 megapixels, and they are the same sensor that you find in an EOS ATD. But if you compare either of these to an ATD, you'll see the body is quite substantially smaller. Now they'll both shoot at around 7 frames a second, so if you want to shoot action, sports, wildlife, that kind of thing, they'll keep up. The autofocus is very good. We've got tracking autofocus, so servo tracking pistol focus works really nicely from a wildlife or sports action point of view. And then because they're made by Canon, we've got a lens adapter where we can use any of the Canon EF lenses. So the entire lens range, all the EF, EFS, and the TSE lenses. So I've shot M5, 400-2.8, and 2x extender, giving me an 800mm lens plus the 1.6 crop. But I've also used it with a tilt shift lens, so 24mm or 17mm tilt shift from a landscape point of view. But if you are a landscaper and you want to get that kind of wide field of view to really get in a big, expansive landscape, then you might be thinking, well, how do I get wide? Well, we've got an 11-22 EFM lens that would work very nicely, but you could equally go for one of the EFS lenses, so maybe the 10-18 or the 10-22, depending on what you're trying to achieve. These are going to give you that kind of expansive view to get in some of the fabulous scenery that hopefully we're going to see later on this week when we go around our road trip around Ireland, and certainly when we go to the west coast, the Wild Atlantic Waves, the Cliffs of Moher and over to the Foreign. That's where those kind of lenses will really come into their own. Beyond that, I mean, in terms of the differences between them, frankly the biggest difference is that this one has a viewfinder and this one doesn't. The bodies are slightly different shapes, ever so slightly if I show you these, but that's mostly because this one doesn't have the viewfinder on it. Now if you'd like a viewfinder but you don't need it all the time, you can clip a viewfinder on top of the M6, so that will give you that capability, whereas the M5 it's permanently built in, and they're not optical viewfinders obviously because it's a mirrorless system, so it's an EVF, an electronic viewfinder, that gives you, it makes it feel like a real camera. You're not shooting on a screen like you would with a phone or with a compact camera. It feels like a DSLR, and it gives you the kind of results that you would get from a DSLR. So really fabulous little cameras. There is one other difference that I'm going to point out to you, and this is for all you guys and girls that are vloggers. So these are very popular vloggers cameras. We know that the G7X is probably the most popular camera for stuff on YouTube at the moment, but people are starting to realise that the interchangeable lenses really give you some benefits in terms of creativity as to how you frame a shot up and the sort of shots you can get. And so cameras like the mirrorless are a familiar small size with that kind of lens capability. And things that you need to know about are that the screen flips out. Now on the M5 it flips down, and on the M6 it flips up. Okay? Now pay your money, take your choice as to which one's better for you. Personally I prefer the M5, I prefer the screen coming down. But really there's not a lot of difference. You might find that the screen flipped up is even better for you. For me personally, I like to put an external microphone on here, and that means if the screen flipped up, I wouldn't be able to get that view when I'm vlogging. I wouldn't be able to see what I'm filming. Whereas when it's down, the eye line's very close to the centre of the lens, so I can see myself out of my peripheral vision. And both cases, it works a lot better than any screens that flip out to the side. So a lot of people are using the ATD, for example, for vlogging. Well, as I said, this is basically the same sensor. But the ATD, the screen, because it comes out to the side, means that when you look, you're looking slightly off axis. So you're looking at a slightly slant view, and therefore you're not looking down the lens, you're not engaging with your viewers. So you might find as I said, for you guys and girls that are vloggers, that these make a really good option instead of maybe an ATD. So that's the M5 and the M6. I'll be doing a bit more about these as we go around Ireland over the next few days. So keep up with the road trip on my Facebook feed, which is David Newton Photo Positive, or David Newton Photography Photo Positive. There'll also be pictures going up on Instagram, and then Canon Ireland will be sharing the live feeds. They'll also be sharing updates and stories about what we're doing. So keep up with what we're going on through the social media. Come and get involved in the road trip. If you've booked yourself onto one of the trips already, one of the events, then look forward to seeing you. I can guarantee we're going to have a great time, whatever the weather does, and we're going to have a whole bundle of kit to play with. If you can't get on because they're fully booked, then, as I say, social media is going to be your friend. That's where you're going to be able to see what we're up to. Hope you've enjoyed that, guys. I shall see you a bit later on the rest of the road trip.